Hey guys, it is Dani'i and welcome to this updated video. So we're going to be talking about Tropical Storm Fiona, and there is another disturbance that is located out there. So we'll talk about that very briefly, but the main focus of this video is going to be Fiona because it is an imminent threat to land and it is likely to produce some very dangerous conditions across sections of the northeastern Caribbean. And so before I go into details, okay, so first things first, we are taking a look at current satellite imagery, and we're seeing here that there we have Fiona making its way towards the Lesser Antilles, and that tropical disturbance is out there. We see quite a bit of shower and thunderstorm activity, and another tropical wave is within the area, and we see some shower activity with that wave as well. But let's go ahead and talk about that new disturbance first for a very brief moment. So we're seeing here on the 5-day outlook that it is given a low 20% chance to possibly develop into a tropical cyclone during the next 5 days. So imminent development of this is not expected. It should be accelerating up to the northwest, and so it is likely that development will be out in the open waters of the Atlantic, and this might not be a problem for anyone anywhere. But of course, if it is going to be a threat, I'm going to be giving updates on it. But that is it for now. Low formation chance and imminent development isn't likely. Alright, now let's go ahead and talk about Fiona. So here we have the cyclone on infrared satellite, and it is very sheared, but it is also a very resilient cyclone. I mean, it's gotten so strong in the presence of unfavorable conditions. I mean, not highly unfavorable conditions, but it developed quite nicely over the past couple of days. And so here we see the cyclone, and if you look closely, you can see that counterclockwise rotation associated with it. But notice that most of that convection is off to the east of the center of the system. So it's because of all that wind shear that's been taking a toll on the system. It's not so symmetrical, and the western side of it is really vacant of shower and thunderstorm activity right now. So that wind shear has really been taking a toll on Fiona. However, it is still going to be a dangerous cyclone during the next several days for the northeastern Caribbean. So let's go ahead and take a look at the cone forecast for it. And so here we have it, and it is accelerating towards the west at 15 miles per hour, and we see that we have tropical storm watches and warnings that are in place. And so the tropical storm warnings are highlighted in blue, and that is in effect for Antigua, Barbuda, St. Kitts, Nevis, Montserrat, Anguilla, Saba and St. Eustatius, St. Martin, Guadeloupe, St. Barthélemy, and St. Martin. And then a tropical storm watch is in effect for Puerto Rico, including Vieques and Culebra, U.S. Virgin Islands, as well as the British Virgin Islands. And so guys, other areas are likely to be under watches and warnings, such as sections of Hispaniola, to be specific, the Dominican Republic, because it is possible that the center of the system could pass over the eastern section of the island, but that would also result in some weakening, especially if it is not moving at a very quick pace. But for now, all the areas that I listed under watches and warnings are likely to experience tropical storm conditions as we progress into this weekend and early next week. And so guys, it is likely that is going to be causing heavy torrential rainfall, which could lead to flash flooding in some areas. I mean, it's very probable, especially for Hispaniola, due to the mountainous terrain. So a lot of heavy rainfall is expected, even some storm surge in some areas that will be feeling the direct impacts of Fiona. So guys, if you're in any of these areas under watches and warnings and you haven't begun preparing, please do not take this tropical storm lightly. Even a weak tropical cyclone is enough to cause some very significant damage. So please do not take Fiona lightly. And then as for the long term, we see the cone here widening, and that means the center can pass anywhere within it. But as of right now, the current track of it says that it is going to be making its way up to the northwest, maybe into the vicinity of the Turks and Caicos Islands, but that is where it stops for the next 5 days. However, what we're seeing now isn't guaranteed to be the actual outcome. Models are shifting. I know last night when I looked at some model runs, I saw that some were expecting a more westward track with the system before it made that northward turn. So a lot can change over the next several days. So we just have to keep watching Fiona. And again, the areas of the Leeward Islands, the Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico as well as Hispaniola, Turks and Caicos Islands are likely to be impacted by Fiona as they're going to be heading into this weekend and going into next week. And when to expect tropical storm conditions? Well, that is expected to begin tonight for the areas that are under tropical storm warning, which includes the Lesser Antilles, and then maybe sometime on Saturday or so for the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico. So guys, as I said, please take all the necessary precautions and stay safe. And let's look at how Fiona is being impacted out there. So let us go ahead and take a look at the wind shear map. And so the red lines indicate unfavorable shear, the yellow means neutral, the green means favorable. And so that unfavorable shear, those strong upper level winds, as I said, they've really been taking a toll on Fiona, and they should persist over the next couple of days while it is going to be accelerating towards the west. So this is going to be a continuous problem for it, and for that reason much intensification is not expected to take place. And as a matter of fact, Fiona actually weakened from yesterday, because yesterday it had maximum sustained winds of 60 miles per hour, and today it has sustained winds of 50 miles per hour at the maximum. So this wind shear is going to be a problem for it. Fortunately, we'll be keeping it as a weak tropical cyclone. However, it is still likely to bring the dangerous impacts. And then looking at this water vapor map, where we have the yellows, that indicates dry air. So there's definitely some dry air intrusion at times with Fiona. And so that is another factor that helps to influence the intensity in the way that it prevents the system from intensifying much. So that dry air isn't favorable for us to see any significant intensification of Fiona. And so guys, that has been one of the factors that has been keeping it looking this way on satellite. Again, all this convection is displaced towards the east of the center of the system. The western side is just some bands of clouds coming out of the cyclone. But of course, as time goes by and if it makes its way into more conducive conditions, then we could see it looking a lot better on satellite. And now let's go ahead and talk about the model intensity guidance for the cyclone. And so here we have the various models, and majority of them are expecting that we will definitely see Hurricane Fiona at some point, and I think that is possible once the system is going to be making its way out into the open waters of the Atlantic, once it crosses from the Caribbean, and if it lingers in open waters with a favorable environment, then I think that this can definitely intensify into a hurricane. So only time will tell what the eventual outcome is going to be for Fiona. But of course, as time goes by, I'm going to be keeping you updated. And so that is it for this update video. And if you found it to be quite informative, please give a thumbs up, and you can share your thoughts in the comments or ask a question. I'll try to respond as best and as soon as I can. And of course, remember to always be weatherwise.